Hey all, Shadow here, and today I'm going to give you some advice on how to make a parkour course in Genshin Impact's Serenity Pot. I would have uploaded everything earlier, but basically I'm lazy, and so I had all the footage recorded, but it's taking the update to drop in order to kick my ass into actually finishing it. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump into it. So, first up, you want to pick your realm. Personally, I went for the floating abode as it has these round stone discs on the ground, and I like to use those as checkpoints throughout the course. You can, however, use whatever you want as a checkpoint, such as an archway or a lamppost. You'll just have to let whoever is doing the course know beforehand. I'd recommend having checkpoints though, because the realm is quite large, and depending on how difficult you make it, of course, people will need to reset a lot. So after choosing your realm, you're just going to want to build stuff. Woo! Tutorial over. Good job. Nah, but really let's get stuck into it. Before getting into the building process, I'm going to have to give some examples of things that you can think about. These things are just stuff you can keep in mind as you build in order to make things more simple or difficult for you and your friends, and also so that you can go into the creative process with a clear path in mind. So, first up we have stamina. As you can see, provided that my editing is on point, beside your character there is a stamina bar. This will appear when used for activities such as sprinting, climbing, swimming, or gliding. To ensure the course can be completed with this limited stamina, I tend to leave rest points on different paths. This allows players to simply stand and recover before moving on to the next part. I test everything myself to make sure it's possible to finish, and if you don't do this you can find yourself in some trouble, so I recommend taking the time. Now I know in all these clips I'm using Zhongli, but I recommend doing these tests with the Traveller, as everyone will have them regardless of who they pull from wishes. If it can be done with the Traveller, then no one has the excuse to say it's impossible. Now, for my next topic of discussion, I want to bring up something that I use a lot in my build, and it combines two aspects of gameplay: jump distance and object selection. These things will contribute to what I like to call object bypassing. Simply put, this is where the aim is to have certain objects on your course skipped, even though you can land on them. As some objects are awkward to land on or jump from, you can place them in your course to throw players off. Instead, placing an object that's easier to jump to or from past the awkward one. The key to making this a success is to have the easier object look almost out of reach or more difficult to land on, usually by having it further away. The example I've had on the screen here shows how annoying it can be jumping between the benches. This is due to how low to the ground the benches are and the shape of them. I've actually made this section so that it's easier to jump from the wall directly to the fence rather than landing on the benches at all. There is a next level to this though. I mentioned earlier that having an object in the middle being awkward to land on can throw someone completely off. You can also include objects that are impossible to land on though. For instance, the well shown in this clip can't be landed on at all. The way to get through this section is actually to land on the hay bales next to the well. There are other objects such as the metal lamppost that are the same. Try it out and see what works for you. Okay, I swear, we're finally getting to the end of this section. But as a creator, you really need to be aware of this big boss level of object bypassing. This level is known as exploiting. Now in my course I have included exploits intentionally to allow entire sections of the course to be skipped. Some I have there only for use with power runs, which I'll get into a little bit later, but others are there for those who are just bold enough to try it out and work even on a basic run with no abilities needed. I say you need to be aware of these, as I can guarantee you that when people start getting frustrated, they're going to try and cheat. So if you don't want parts of your course skipped, be sure to make it impossible by blocking it off as shown here. So, obviously being a parkour course, we have a lot of jumping. This will tie into how you actually go about making your course, but you want to consider things like heights, sizes, shapes, and angles of objects and gaps. You want to consider different ways people can overcome the object, whether it be landing close to or jumping from far away, landing on or climbing up the side of, or even skipping entirely. All of it should be thought out in order to make your job easier and minimize the risk of exploit. If you continue watching on the screen, you can see the objects I've set up for getting on top of the gazebo, and the many ways one could attempt to climb up there. Some work and some don't, but you'll find that people will often surprise you with their approach, so if you place something down, expect the unexpected and do your best to plan for it. Testing really helps out with this. Okay, we're finally at the last aspect I wanted to bring up, and honestly, don't underestimate its importance. Choice can be critical to executing an exciting course, rather than making it feel all planned out. Giving choice lets the player feel more in control. A perfect example of object choice are the 3 objects shown here. The record player is the biggest and looks the easiest to jump to, but it doesn't actually let you land on it. The bucket does, but it's hard to land on and jump from as it's so low to the ground and one misstep leaves you touching grass. The easiest object to jump to is the spear rack. The tip of the spear provides solid height to move on, and you can stand on it because Papa Zhong don't give a fuck. In order to bring the topic of choice to its conclusion, I want to talk about path choice. As opposed to object choice, this can cause people to spend a serious amount of time trying to go and do the wrong thing over and over again. A really simple way to allow path choices, but to encourage people to use the one that you want, is with a fake out. Now, you'll have to excuse me, because I'm going to cut to me simply speaking over the top of the clip and explaining what's going on, and it'll probably show how awkward I am as a person, and I'm really sorry about that. So I have it brought back to the initial choice. You have the path on the right and the left. The left path, as you can see, you can actually make even though it doesn't look like you can. And at the end of that path is this iron lamp, which, as you can see, you can't actually land on. What looks to be the correct path is actually not, and the one that is the correct path is hidden behind a mountain. Now this is the path on the right, and as you can see, it looks a lot easier to start off with, but then when you actually go down the path, the lampposts that are there and the direction that they're facing and the angle that you got to jump through the mountains and all that just makes it really difficult to navigate. So you can now enjoy my attempts at navigating it. And obviously I cheat by just going straight back to the lamppost to just show that I can make it. And that's basically how I test everything out as well. It's just going through everything over and over again until it works, and adjusting the positions. Now before we get to the actual build, I just want to bring up something. It's not really an important thing, but it's just sort of more of a fun point. You can put down creatures and characters down just to add a bit of variety to the map, and also as a distraction. If someone is concentrating, sometimes like a sudden boar just rushing past them can just really throw them off. So just have a think about it when you're going through everything. Okay, so finally we're onto the build, but just wait a minute, just stop, hold up, calm the down, buy one of these. Actually, buy all of these. You need all of these. Use them. They are so convenient. You can just teleport to the beginning of each section. It will save you so much time and effort. Trust me. So, yes, now that's out of the way, let's get on to the build. In order to run you through the build process, I'm just going to play the clip and talk over the top of it, let you know what's going on in my head, and how I sort of go about making everything work. As you can see, I put down a wall for my first object. You can pick whichever one you want. You then pick a direction for your path, and you just jump in that direction. After you land, you want to look for landmarks, or buildings, or objects that you've previously placed. You want to use them as a reference point. You can open up your map as well, have a look at that, and then go to your creative build mode. You put down your object, and you kind of line it up as best as you can to where you sort of think you were. After you get out, you can see you're next to the object, and then you just go to the previous object and jump to it. You can then make small adjustments, pushing it further away or bringing it closer until you can make the jump and land exactly where you want. So I'm happy with that, so I've decided to move on, just continue my path elsewhere. I start thinking that I'll make a path a bit bigger by using this tent, but I decide against that and decide to show you guys a fake out instead by placing an iron lamppost and then one with a platform that you can land on. As you can see, that landform's a bit too big, so I switch it out for a smaller one. I then climb up the object to see if you can see the proper path from the object that you would jump from. And obviously you can't. If you want to make it even better, then you make it so that you can't see the proper path from the previous object either. Obviously I couldn't make that jump, so I've moved the landform and the lamp closer. Jump around and land on the post, only to realise that you can't actually climb up the lip of that, so I then go back and switch the post out for a different type of post that you can land on. And then it's just a matter of putting it almost the same spot and then just testing it again. That's essentially all there is to building everything. You just need patience and just keep testing everything. Just before I wrap things up, I want to revisit power runs. It's something I mentioned earlier and promised to talk about, so just quickly, power runs are what my friends use to refer to us running the course using abilities and characters we've pulled from wishes. Basic runs, on the other hand, are no ability runs. This is usually done with the Traveller and creates the most even space for everyone to compete. I've purposely inbuilt paths for power runs in my course, as you can see in the background, but it's really up to you to decide what you want to do with yours. Honestly, as my final advice, just have fun, have patience, and take your time. If you do that, I'm sure it'll work out fine, and your friends will probably hate you, but I'm sure they'll enjoy themselves while doing it. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully everyone stays safe and that you learnt something. There'll be more aspects that you can chuck into the build as of the new update, which will probably be around the same time this is actually uploading. But that's kind of what I get for being lazy. If you do make your own after watching this, it would be really awesome if you let me know how it went, or you could maybe shoot me a link to a video or something. Otherwise, I hope you all take care, and I'll catch you later.